Hello, hello, everybody. Lunch looks pretty good out there. Everybody getting their bellies full? Are we excited? Can we look excited? Everybody's got their mouths full. It's hard to smile with food in your mouth, right? Well, I am Jennifer Jones, and this is my husband, Eric Jones. We are better known as the Turf Teacher and the Turfette. We are the green industry couple. We own Turfette Radio, which is a 24/7 streaming live radio dedicated to this industry, the green industry. So we provide 24/7 content to you guys and bring education and information to you. If you can't make to a trade show or if you've missed some of the content, everything gets downloaded to a podcast platform after the live shows. So we are able to reach out to you guys on a 24/7 basis. So if you want more information, if you need more education, if you need anything green industry related, Turfette Radio is where it's at. We are building that for you guys on a daily basis. So find us at turfetteradio.com. You can also download the app. It is on all of your app platforms. Just download it to your phone. Like I said, it's 24-hour streaming internet radio. We have lots of content providers and podcasters that are on there. So you can find that information at turfetteradio.com. My husband and I do a live radio show every Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So if you're in your work trucks and you're headed out with your teams and you just need a little bit of listening content, just turn us on your phone on the app, or just go do your Safari or your internet browser on your phone and listen to us live at 8 a.m. every Monday through Friday at Turfette Radio. So I'm going to ask you guys for a little participation. What's the name of the radio station for the green industry? Oh, that was sorry. Y'all could do better than that. Clear your throat. What's the name of the radio station for the green industry? Oh, now, if I was going to do side versus side, I think this side won. All right, this side, one more time. What's the name of the radio station? Turfette Radio. Come and see us at our booth. We'll be there today, and then we'll be at the trade show floors on Thursday and Friday. But for no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my husband, and he's going to introduce our keynote speaker today.
All right, hey everyone, welcome to Green and Growin 26. My name, like Jennifer said, is Eric Jones, and it is now my privilege to introduce today's keynote speaker, Rayne Gibson with Taproots Horticulture Consulting. Rayne is a passionate entrepreneur and a leader in the green industry. He owns two businesses, Taproots Horticulture Consulting and Next Level Nursery Group, both dedicated to helping green industry businesses grow, innovate, and succeed. With a reputation for combining hands-on experience with strategic insight, Rayne brings valuable expertise in business development with topics such as sales coaching, production planning, software integration, nursery design, and much more. So please join me in giving a warm Green and Growin welcome to Mr. Rayne Gibson, who is going to be a future radio show host on Turfette Radio, my good friend, Rayne Gibson.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I like to ask them about the past. I like to ask them about the issues that they face and how they overcame those issues. I like to see how those things happen because it never fails whenever I ask a business owner how they overcame their issues, that I'm going to have that same conversation with them the next week. It never fails. It's serendipitous, whatever you want to call it, but I believe it. And the next question I like to ask business owners is about the future. I like to ask them, what do you plan? What are your plans for your business? How do you plan on growing your business? And what issues do you plan on facing? How do you plan to overcome those issues? And I love asking those questions for multiple reasons, but mostly because whenever I see you guys answer that question of how you plan to overcome those issues in the future, I get to see the light in your eyes. I get to see the spark. I get to see the passion inside of your eyes. Whenever you get excited about the future, excited about the future of the business, the future industry, I love it. I live on those conversations. And especially so because we in the green industry are some of the most passionate people that I have ever seen. It's the reason why I stayed in the green industry. Ask anyone here what they love about the green industry, and they're going to tell you things like, it's the people. It's the people in the industry that we love. It is the community. It's the culture. It is the passion that we have for each other, for each other's businesses. That's what makes the green industry great. And that passion doesn't come from nothing. It comes because we are also a family business. Quick question. How many of you, raise your hands, how many of you here work for a family business? How many of you work for a family-owned business? Hell yeah! That is the majority of this room. We are a family-owned business. Family-owned industry. Now, how many of you are a family member of that business? How many of you are a brother, sister, cousin, niece, nephew? Beautiful. That is still the majority of this room. That is one. Any in-laws in the business? Any in-laws? A couple of you? So you married into the business? Sucker. You got roped into the passion that we all so much love. It's beautiful. And I love that we are some of the most passionate people that I can possibly have met. And this passion comes from a source. It comes from somewhere. And we in the green industry have a unique opportunity to physically see our passion. We get to design outdoor landscapes. We get to design outdoor experiences. We get to envelop ourselves in the living embodiment of beauty. We get to work with Mother Nature. We get to put our hands in the dirt. And we get to see our passion. We get to create life itself. I mean, how spectacular is that? But for all this passion enveloped in our DNA, enveloped in our business, in our family business, that passion also holds us back. It holds us back. Now, there are many things that contribute to this, but there's a couple things I want to tell you about why passion is not leadership. Now, before I move further, I want to ask, how many of you are founders of the business? You're founder of a family-owned business. There is no one in this room that is more passionate than you guys. If you are the founder of the business, you're the first generation, you are patriarch, you started the business, no one has more passion in this room than you. And that is a raw and powerful thing. Tell me this story sounds familiar to founders. You started the business a few years ago, maybe a few decades ago, because you had skill, you had knowledge, you saw an opportunity. And you took all that passion, you combined it with your skill, you combined it with your passion, and you had that opportunity, and you grew that business. It does not fail. When you have those three things together, that business will grow. But all of a sudden, this business is growing. It's this huge, monstrous thing. And all of a sudden, you found yourself needing to hire people. And all of a sudden, you found yourself having to deal with people and their problems and their issues and their emotions. That thing that HR has to deal with. But where's the easiest place for someone to find help? Family, of course. We know who they are. We know their strengths. We know their weaknesses. And you know that they also have the passion that you do. So you hire your brother, sister, niece, nephew, cousin. And you hire them and you promote them. And you hope and you expect that leadership will come with it. And I gotta tell you, that's not always the case. We hire that family member, and let's be honest, that family member probably gets certain privileges that'd be frowned upon if it was anybody else. See a couple of you nodding, don't nod too much, they're sitting right next to you. But it's true, and this isn't something that only happens in family business. This happens across the entire green industry. Every business that I've worked with, again, we're some of the most passionate people that I've ever seen. That passion is holding us back. Now I'm going to ask you a hard question. What would it mean if every single family member left the business? If every single family member wanted nothing to do with that business anymore? And founders, what if it was your fault? What if it was your fault that every single person left? Because you didn't understand the difference between passion and leadership. That's the story of my family business. Over the course of 12 months, every single one of us left. We wanted nothing to do with that business. Now, including the owner who sold the business last summer, there's not a single family member left in the entire business. We want nothing to do with it. And this is the story of how devastating it can be whenever you mistake passion for leadership. So I'll tell you my story of how I mistook passion for leadership, how I was blinded by it, and did not understand what it really meant to be a leader, what I thought leadership was, and how I had to learn the 4 key aspects of leadership the hard way, the really hard way, the painful way, something I wish that no one else had to do. Now, passion in our family has never been a stranger, right? I dedicated my life to that business, so much so that my wife forced me to buy new shirts. Can you believe that? She forced me to buy new shirts. She said, Rayne, every time that we go out on dates, you're always wearing the company shirt and the company hat and the company jacket. You're wearing a company shirt. It looks pretty nice on you, right? Would you wear that out on a date?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, you got something to learn. Because she said, Rayne, I'm tired. Could you please go buy some nice shirts? So I went out and bought some nice shirts. And I had to dedicate myself to my family. But we're not strangers in the green industry about family businesses, about understanding what that means. We wear it proudly. We know exactly what that means. We love it. This comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place of love for our business, love for our industry. But that's not all there is to our business. Now, passion has never been a stranger in our family. Almost all of us, all of our family members are entrepreneurs in one form or fashion. We have everything from fitness trainers to office supply stores to telephone systems. We even have a mermaid scuba instructor in the family. Did anyone see this during career day in high school? Because I gotta tell you, when she said, hey, look, I'm gonna move to Catalina Island, California, I'm gonna open up a mermaid scuba school, we had some questions. Some concerns. You're sure this is what you want to do? But it was okay. My parents' business, however, started out of a brokerage business in Forest Hill, Louisiana, nursery capital of Louisiana, 200 nurseries. Started as a broker business. My stepmother had a brokerage business as a single mother of 2, nothing more than a truck and a trailer, buying and selling plants across the Gulf South. In the early 2000s, she met my father, and they fell in love. And he fell in love with the nursery business. And together, they were the perfect yin and yang for growing a business. It was beautiful. Beth had the drive, the tenacity, and the grit, and the passion, and the dreamers of the world. She had that so much. It was beautiful. And Dad was steady, methodical, and planning. He was the anchor, constantly keeping her wrangled back. It was beautiful. And the best part was, I was in the thick of it. I was in the thick of it, starting at 10 years old. I would get dropped off with the crew, and Dad would hand me a $5 bill. So, Rayne, there's a $5 bill. Here's a full lunch wagon. It's going to come around about 10:30. Here's for you some lunch. There's a $5 bill. And you have 2 jobs, Rayne. Number 1, listen to that man. He is your boss. I'm not your boss. You listen to everything he says and do what he tells you to do. Second thing was learn Spanish. That's exactly what I did. I loved it. I loved being in the nursery. But the best part was after work. In the family business, we all know that the work doesn't stop when the guys clock out. The work stops when the work is done. So it was after the day was done, I'd go back to the office where my second job began. I was chief envelope stuffer, liquor, and stand go-getter guy. That was me. Every single bill that went out, every invoice, every check that had to go out, it was my job in the afternoon to fold up all the invoices, stuff them in the envelope, lick it, put a stamp on it. But it was there, sitting in that office, watching them work through their challenges, talk about the day, talk about all the things going on in their life, that I really got to see what it means to own a business in the green industry. I got to see their passion and spark my own. I loved it. I worked the nursery every single summer and most weekends for all the way up to 18 years old when I graduated high school. And Dad said, "What do you want to do with your life?" I said, "Dad, I don't know. I'll be a landscape architect maybe." No. I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. If either you can work smart or you can work hard." I said, "Dad, I think I want to work smart." So I'm tired of kind of working out in 110-degree heat. So he said, "Well, you better get smart." So I said, "I'm going to get a degree in horticulture." So I went to LSU. Go Tigers, go Kiffin. And I got to work under some of the best professors. And I got to do internships at two of the largest production nurseries in the Gulf South. I worked on their labor and I worked on their inventory efficiencies. And it was beautiful. I got to see how the big dogs operate. I'm talking 700-acre nurseries. I mean, these were monsters. And I got to see their insides. I got to see the ins and outs. I got to experience this from the ground floor. I got to spend time with each of their departments. I loved it. Pivotal moment, however, came when I was a junior in college. I was working a part-time job at a garden center, and I was absolutely filthy. It was Christmas season, and I had spent all day cutting and mounting Christmas trees. I'm covered in dirt, I'm covered in sap. When I got a call, Dad called me and said, "Rayne, I got some big news for you." I said, "Someone offered to buy the nursery." It's a good offer. I mean, this is life-changing money, Rayne. I want you to think about this. I said, "Rayne, I know you're getting a degree in this. I know you've spent time in the nursery. I want to take into consideration. Do you want the business?" And that is a huge decision to ask a 22-year-old kid, do you want the business? Do you want to be the future of this business? Gosh, I can remember I was sitting in my truck. I was driving to I-12 in Baton Rouge, going back to my apartment. He asked me that, and I saw visions, and everything hit me at once. I saw myself being Young Professional of the Year. I saw myself opening up locations across the country. I saw all these visions, and it all came together in one moment. I said, "Dad, I want to take this business to the next level." It was that moment right there where my passion set its roots deep into my soul. And I became obsessed with doing things better, with understanding what it takes to be a great nursery, what it takes to be and play with those big dogs that I had just experienced. That's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be known nationally. I became obsessed. I would go to trade shows just like this, where my parents would introduce me as the future of the business. I can't tell you how proud I was. I could see how proud they were. I loved it. It's beautiful. Now tell me this. Once a son of the owner who's been told that they are the future of the business, that they are responsible for growing the business, this business was going to be theirs, after they graduate college, where do they belong? Sales, of course. If you want to see this business grow, if you want to take it to the next level, money's the way to do it. You're a salesperson now. All right, great, let's do this. Now, I was put in charge of all in-house sales. Anyone that came to the nursery, I was to take care of them. My first job back was implementing an inventory system. Now, if you haven't gone through this process yet, it is a monster to do. It is not an easy task. But that was my first job back, because I had been working with these big guys, these big dogs that had inventory systems. I knew exactly what to do. I was the one in charge of making sure that the inventory was correct and how to build better processes. I knew what I was doing. Heck yeah, let's do this. And I spent months researching the right system, making sure that every single bed was labeled with a placard that had the bed number to make sure we knew exactly which field was labeled. Every single location had a bed and a marker, we knew where everything was. I spent months making sure that our data was correct, that our customer information was correct, and we counted, and we counted, and we counted again. It was going to be great. Except it was a shock when nobody wanted to use the system. What do you mean to use the system? What do you mean it's too hard? It's simple. This was before tablets, by the way. It's not like I was asking them to do something wild. I was just asking them to read the paper. And look, it says this plant, this many comes from this field. Just go to that field and pull those plants. It's not hard. But it was like pulling teeth to get them to actually use the system, to do something that was unfamiliar, to challenge them to try something new. And I could not get it. I couldn't understand why they wouldn't want to do this. This is exactly what our nursery needs. If we're going to take it to the next level, guys, this is how we're going to do it. This is what's needed so we can understand our production and how it cycles through things. And the more that they resisted, the louder I got. The more frustrated I got. I would hold meetings where I would say things like, guys, okay, here's what we're doing. We're not going to do this anymore, okay, guys? You're not doing this. We're going to start doing this. So stop doing this and start doing this. I got frustrated. I could not understand. Why would you not want to do this? This is my first job. Come on, guys. We've got to do this. They wouldn't. I couldn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. Why wouldn't they want to do this? So I started getting louder and louder. I started barking orders at grown men 30 years older than me. And I expected them to listen. Anyone want to guess how well that went over? Yeah, it didn't. It didn't. But looking back, I'm sure you can all agree that there's a reason why that project failed, why it was scrapped months later, after months of blood, sweat, and tears, and thousands of dollars, might I add. It never had a chance. And I could not understand why. Now, years passed after that, my very first failure, straight out of college, my very first task failed. Years had passed. And I will say that, yes, my leadership did get better. I did understand how to become a team player. I began to lean on my team rather than just sitting there and telling them what to do. Looking back at those arguments that I would have, I would talk to Dad and Beth. I'd say, Dad, I just don't understand why would they not want to do this? And looking back, I remember saying things, just stupid things. I said, Dad, Beth, I don't get it. Why would they not want to do this? I am not here to make friends. I'm not here to make friends. I am here to get things done. I don't care if I've got to step on some toes. I'm here to get things done and take this business to the next level. And looking back after having years of building our team and learned teamwork, gosh, I kick myself now for knowing that I said those things. But again, years passed after that, and I understood. I became more of a team player. I began to understand what it means to work with a team and build them from within. And we were kicking butt and taking names. Dad and Beth, they decided they wanted to retire. That's fine. Due to circumstances, I was now running all of outside sales as well. Every single order that was shipped out of our nursery, about 80% of our entire revenue, was now only done by me. I was the only sales rep that worked the entire nursery. I was doing all of it. Because I had to do all the outside sales, guess what? That meant I did all the shipping. Because money makes the world go around, because sales makes the world go around, guess what? Now I also did all the production planning. I took whatever needed to be done to move that business forward, and I weighed those problems on my shoulders because that's what was expected of me. That's what I had to do. I was kicking butt and taking names. At this point, I was doing exactly what I set out to do. I was shipping plants from coast to coast. I became California certified. I became certified to ship all the way up the East Coast. It didn't matter. If you needed a plant, I got you. I could do this. We were kicking butt and taking names. We were so busy. We were even talking about buying an additional 120-acre tree farm just to keep up with sales. Hell yeah. Let's do this. I was asked to be on the board for the Louisiana Nurse Association. I was going to be one of the youngest ever board members. I was on top of the world. There was nothing that I wasn't going to be able to achieve. I was doing exactly what was expected of me. I was growing the business exactly like was expected of me. Till that all came crashing down. January 19th, 2020. My dad passed away. And I realized that one half of the yin and yang that built the business, one half of the man that built me, is gone. Now we soon find out the other half had more than enough passion, but like myself, lacked that ever important leadership aspect. Now, does anybody know what happens when you put two people of high amounts of passion in the room and they're both in charge of making decisions? Yeah, not a good scenario. That's decided so you want to come back there and start running things again. But the difference is, this new nursery was a lot different. Over the past 4 years, we've changed a lot. And it was not very reminiscent of the nursery that she remembered giving me 4 years back. It was much different. We weren't working as a traditional nursery. We were doing things that no one else in Forest Hill, the little town in central Louisiana, we didn't care what they were doing. We were doing things different. We were doing things better. We were competing nationally. And that, when something looks different to someone of high amounts of passion, it's scary. All of a sudden we had two people in charge of making decisions. One of us wanted to move forward, and the other one wanted to revert things back to where they were, the way things have always been done. Which is a conversation I have a lot. I just want things done the way they've always been done. All of a sudden, meetings turned into yelling matches. Decisions, reversions came into standoffs. For both of us, we had to be right. We knew we needed what needed to be done. I need to be right. You need to be right. Neither of us were wrong. We both had to be right. And it eroded every bit of trust that we had with each other and also with our team. All of a sudden, our entire team, all of our managers, our head growers, our production managers, they didn't know who to listen to. Are you going to listen to me, the guy that's ran the business for the last 4 years, that's made us a few $1 million and grown the business, now we're shipping all over the place? Or are you going to listen to the owner of the business? I got to tell you, that is not a hard decision for someone to make. My passion could not take it. I would get text messages randomly about what reversion we were going to make back to things the way we used to do them. I couldn't stand it. I would get many panic attacks. My heart would beat out of my chest. I was getting tunnel vision. The doctor said it was many panic attacks. I physically, emotionally could not stand it. It all came to a head on a Tuesday. I was driving from another nursery. I was going to pick up some plants from them. I was going to put it on our truck for our biggest customer. I was going to broker those plants when I got a text message. It said, Rayne, you are to immediately halt all brokering from here out. What? This business was founded on brokering. You are a broker yourself. We're talking about millions of dollars. This is 30% of our entire revenue. And you want me to stop? I just picked out some plans for our biggest customer. What do you mean stop? I called her. I was furious. I said, Beth, what are you talking about? This is millions. How could you make these decisions without me? You said that this was business to be mine. You're making a decision without me. Why would you do this? How does this make sense? How would you make a decision without me? And her response is burned into my memory. She said, Rayne, this is my business. I will run it how I want to run it. You do as I say. Don't think that you're replaceable. You're replaceable. Don't think you're irreplaceable. The woman that raised me, the woman that I gave Mother's Day cards to, the woman that told me that this business was going to be mine, just told me that I was replaceable. It was that exact moment that the battle between her passion and mine ended. She won. And there's no coming back from that. I sat in front of the office that I dedicated 18 years of my life to. That was my dream since I was 10 years old. I cried and I made the hardest decision of my life. I quit. I knew that there was no coming back from that. Never. Now, my story is a cautionary tale, but it is not all negative and gloomy. I promise you that. See, the defining moment of a leader is when they decide to dedicate themselves to a team. When they decide to understand that it is not about themselves, it is about the people that are in the business. That is the moment that you decide to become a leader. And that moment for me came when I was asked to run a wholesale nursery in Fort Worth, Texas. It was a failing business, and the owner said, look, Rayne, you got the experience, you know what you're doing, you can do what you need to do, we trust you. But look, it's going to take some serious work. And I had to go into that business with one huge difference that I had never understood. I never experienced. I had to go into that business without the false confidence of being the owner's son. I had to go into that business as a complete stranger. But I vowed I would never do what I had done to my own people. The mistakes I made as a super 22-year-old kid with just no understanding what leadership was. I was never going to repeat the mistakes that had been done onto me, and I vowed I would never treat people like replaceable objects ever again. We started with our first leadership aspect. We started with our communication. Now, communication, well, it seems so simple, right? It's at its core, it is about giving and receiving information. It's so simple. Yet, as a leader, you begin to understand that every single person in this room gives and receives information differently. And I had to start beginning to understand, I had to break down our communication. I had to set expectations for how we were to communicate, how often we were going to communicate. I had to set those expectations of what exactly that meant. For example, on rainy days, we all have rainy days, but instead of letting the crew go and cutting their hours, I'd have them come together in the office, and I'd pair them up. I would have my salesperson pair up with my order pullers. And I would have my salesperson explain to the order puller what they experienced their biggest problems were. And I would have them work through those problems and explain things from each other's perspective. And I have them get together and work through those problems. I'd have them with regular one-on-one meetings where we would sit down and we would talk about what they have experienced, what I have experienced, what they need. Because a leader is going to take the time and commit themselves to communication, understand that every single person on their team values being heard, being understood, being respected. And looking back at my past, of course this makes so much sense. Of course it makes so much sense. It was a light bulb moment when I first realized I was working with a coach, and it was like the moment, irrigation guys, you're all going to really understand this. Remember when you kick a valve on, and you can hear all the air coming through the pipes, and all the sprinklers are beautiful, except for that one in the corner? That moment for me was when I was working with the coach. He explained how me, as a passionate extrovert, the means of that I communicated working more against me rather than proving myself as a leader. See, I thought my communication was speaking loudly and just telling people what to do. Stop doing this, start doing this. I never invited them into the conversation. I never asked their experience. I never asked how this would affect them. And I was never going to do that again. So I started inviting those conversations and seeing exactly what those meant and having people explain things from different perspectives. And that's when we started seeing the second leadership aspect. We started seeing empathy. When you put two people together and you expect them to explain things to each other from their perspective, you take a proverbial walk in their shoes. That's what everyone knows as empathy, taking a walk in their shoes. We began to see that. We began to see how different departments were interacting. We would put them together and understand that when you dedicate yourself to using this new skill called communication, and you combine that with empathy, that's when magic begins. That's when we begin to understand the people around you. And again, looking back in my past, it makes so much sense. I had no buy-in with my inventory system. I didn't care what they thought. I didn't care if I was stepping on toes. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to get things done. I had the complete, utter lack of empathy. My passion was to blame for that. I had to begin to use our passion, our empathy together. I had to start seeing our team work together and understand the problems would be solved together rather than just constantly complaining and putting out fires. I started seeing us work together. My team would come to me with ideas rather than just problems because I understood them. And maybe you did grow up in the business. Maybe you have done every single thing there is to do in the nursery. But the moment that you are promoted, the moment that is no longer your experience, your perspective and theirs is different. So you have to use that skill of empathy combined with communication to work together as a team. But that's not all. I had to learn our next leadership trait. And for those of you with high amounts of passion, especially you founders, this is absolutely the hardest and most elusive leadership trait. You have to show humility. Now, raise a hand. How many of you here have a problem with someone on your team right now not holding themselves responsible? They will not take responsibility. You want to have someone on their team right now that they will not take responsibility for their actions? It's okay. I know some of you don't want to raise your hand because they're sitting right next to you. I get it. But I guarantee you, all of you have experienced that at least once in your life. Someone on your team that you're responsible for will not. They all have every excuse under the book. It's always someone else's fault. Something was broken. Something didn't work. It's never their fault. But how many of you have stood in front of them and stood in front of your team and said, guys, I am the reason why this does not work. I did not prepare you well. I did not give you the tools that you needed to succeed. It's my fault. Anyone see the correlation between those two things? If you're not willing to show the example of exactly what that means, you have to show them what it means to be a leader, to demonstrate your accountability, to demonstrate that you are responsible for your actions, not only others. You have to show that exactly what that means. And that's when we get to the final and most elusive leadership aspect. When you combine your trust, your empathy, and your humility, and your communication, you begin to earn trust. And trust is earned by routinely demonstrating to your team exactly your expectations for all three of those aspects. See, passionate people, we have a strong attachment for our ideas, but trust means that you let go. You have to let go. And I started seeing that before my eyes. I saw my team trust me, and I trusted them. I had to trust them. And they come to me ideas, and I let them run with it. Go for it. I know that I've given you the tools I need. I know that you're going to work through this. You're going to work through the problems. Go for it. And yes, some of these ideas were absolutely wild. Some of them, yes, came with mistakes. And yes, some of those were costly. But every single one of those ideas came with teachable moments. Every single one of them came with an opportunity for me to show them what it means to be a leader. I said the defining moment of a leader is when they begin to dedicate themselves to a team. But I'm going to edit that. The true mark of a leader is not only when you dedicate yourselves to a team, but also when you start building other leaders. That is the true mark of a leader. That's exactly what I have built. I had a team that I had hired. 98% of the people that I had hired to this day, 6.5 years later, 98% of that team is still there. They love where they work. They feel valued. They feel respected. They feel important. They are all in charge of teams for themselves. They're in charge of building the leadership with themselves. At that location, over the course of 2.5 years, we tripled revenue from 1.4 million to nearly 5 million. This is the true power of leadership. When combined with that raw and powerful passion that we all have inside of us, you can do this. It is within you. It is a hard journey, but it takes that first step of dedicating yourself to it. And that passion you have inside of you is a raw and powerful force. And know that whenever you take this journey, there will be mistakes, and you will be better for them. If you lift your team, they will lift you. And understand that you are not alone. I've dedicated my business to make sure that stories like my family business do not continue to happen. Ask for help so it doesn't take you years of learning this the hard way like it did me. But most importantly, remember, passion is not leadership. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming out. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Really great to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Lovely. Thank you.